Hello and welcome to the video. I wanted to do a video today to go over some of the stuff in Fusion 360. Specifically how to make a watch dial. I know when I started trying to make watch dials, it was difficult for me, so I kind of had to figure it all out for myself. So I figured I'd make a quick video for you guys to show you how I do it. Alright, so here's your Fusion 360 main page right now. This is how it should look when you open up. So one of the things I do when I start is I try to define my parameters. Set parameters is a way to set certain, distances. You find it here under modify, change parameters. And basically we're going to set a bunch of different distances to make it easier so we can kind of lock everything together. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and click here. So this is where you put your name in. You can't put any spaces in it. So the first one I'm going to start with is large indices. And our large indices are going to be 0.9 millimeters. So then it puts it in here, right? So when we go later on and we set up a new sketch, if I want to draw a circle, instead of the distance that we have right here, I can just type in LARG and here's my large indices, and it makes it whatever size that is. So what this does for you is it'll make it easier, so like if you want to change this parameter at any time, so if I want to change this say to 25 millimeters, it will automatically change anything you have tagged, and it's helpful when you have more than one thing that's you want to keep the same size. You want to constrain it to the same size. So we're going to go back. We're going to turn this back into 0.9. And we're going to add a few more in here. We've got small indices. And they're going to be 0.3 millimeters. We're going to do a dial size is going to be, so we're going to do DIAL outer, and that's going to be the most common size, which is 20.5 millimeters. And I'm just going to really quickly put the rest of these in here. Probably fast forward through this so you don't have to watch them all, but you guys get the idea. Okay, so now we have all of our parameters set. I put a bunch of them in here, and we'll go over these when I start to use them on the sketch. So currently we have a sketch set up. We're going to go ahead and delete this. We're going to exit. We're going to finish this sketch. So this is the sketch we just created. We're going to go ahead and delete that, so we're starting from fresh. Alright, so first thing you want to do is come up here and you want to create a sketch. You can either do it from here or you can click the little plus. Once you click the little plus right here, you're going to get your origins, and kind of look up here where you've got your top and make sure it's oriented correctly, but we're going to look down on it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is, now that we've got this sketch, we've got sketch number 2. I like to name the sketches, so we're just going to go ahead and name it. Let's see, dial. Just going to name it dial. I like to break my sketches up into different parts. So the first part's going to be the dial. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to go up here to create circle, and we're going to create a center point circle. Okay, right here, center diameter circle. and we're going to open this up, and it's going to be a 28.5. So the two ways you could do this is 28.5. You could do it that way, or since we created the parameters, we're going to do dial outer, and that's going to make the dial 28.5. And when I made this 28.5, I also like to make my dials 0.6 millimeters thick. So we're going to go ahead and hit E for extrude, and we're going to extrude it the difference of dial thickness, and that's going to make it 0.6. So here you can see that it's a dial 0.6. Now one way you can get back if you get all messed up is you can just come up here and you can click top, right? And then once we have stuff, you can move it around until it's oriented the way you like to orient it. All right, so then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the indices on there. All right, so, and to put the indices on, I like to do a whole new sketch. So we're going to click the top of this disk right here, because that we want to create the new sketch on top of this disk. Right, so we're going to come up here and create sketch, and that's going to create, now we can sketch here on top of the disk. I am going to name this indices ind large, because we're going to start with the large indices. So the large indices, let me open up another page here for you. Open. So the indices that I'm using pretty much look like this. All right, so I've got indices that I purchased, and here are the dimensions. So the little, so when I'm referring to the little indices, these are the little indices, and they've got two little posts. And then the big indices are the round ones, and they've got one little post in the middle. And then there's another one that's exactly set up like this, but it's a triangle with the two little posts, but it's literally the exact same thing. So I measured these out with my micrometer, and I wrote them down on a piece of paper, and I put them up here so you could see what we're working with. So basically our dial, and we're going to go ahead and save this, and we're going to save it, test dial, and I'm going to put this in my watch dials, save. Okay, so we got the save now. We're in a sketch. First thing I'm going to do is I know that the distance I want from the center to the outside, I want that, I know what that's going to be. So we're going to draw another circle, and we're going to draw it here on the top, and we are going to call it dial indices from center, which should be 24.5 millimeters. Okay, so this is how far we want the indices, the center of the indices, to be from the center of the dial. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that, I'm going to highlight that, the line, the circle, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to turn it into a construction line, because I don't want it to, I just want it to be a construction line, because I'm just going to use it to put my dial indices there. So the next one we're going to do is we're going to hit line. We're going to hit line L to draw a line, and we're going to draw a line straight up the middle. It doesn't matter how long it is. And then hit escape to get rid of that. Now we're going to do the same thing with this one. We're going to make this a construction line. And the reason why we're going to do this is because right here is where we want to put our first indice. Okay, and Fusion 360 is a really easy way to do this. So we're gonna click here and see the reason why I put those two lines there is because now it snaps to grid. If we didn't have those lines there, those construction lines, it wouldn't snap to the grid. It only snaps to where you've got the construction lines. So that's an easy way. So we're going to go ahead and make an index here. So we're going to do large index. So our large indices is going to be 0.9. That's going to be the inner diameter of the hole that we're going to make, and that's the size of 0.9 is the size of this little circle right here. Okay, so now that we've got this set up here, we're going to do a little trick that Fusion 360 helps us with. And we're going to go to create, and we're going to choose circular pattern. Now circular pattern, it asks you to do two things. It says select an object, which is this, and it wants you to select a center point, which is that. Once you select that, you got some options here. We're going to do full. I'm going to click the suppression button, and I'm going to show you why I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to hit 12, and it's going to space out around here 12 evenly spaced circles. Okay, and the reason why we click the suppression button is because right here we want to get rid of that one because we're going to have a date window there. Here we want to get rid of this one because we're going to have one of the rectangular indices there. And here we want to get rid of this one because we're going to have a rectangular index there. We're going to deal with this top one at the top later. That's why I have a triangle that goes there, but I've got to leave it there for now. So if we go ahead and click OK, basically now we've got our large indices set where they need to go. So from here, we're going to, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here and I'm going to delete this. Right, and you're going to get this warning down here that says it's part of the pattern, and that's fine. Basically what that means is if we move this line here, these won't stick with it because it was part of the circular pattern. But we have to draw something here, here, and on the bottom. All right, so perfect. So now we're going to now we're going to finish this sketch. All right, and we're going to click on the top here and we're going to start a new sketch. And for the new sketch, we're going to call it end small. So this is where we're going to make the small indices. Okay, and the rectangular indices, but they go right here. So in order to do this, what we got to do is we've got to draw another construction line, because when I look at a dial, I notice that all the indices line up at the top. So the top of each one of these is all in a circle, not the centers, but the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw another circle right in the middle, and this is going to be a construction line, and I'm going to zoom right on in, and I'm going to snap this to this line as easy like that. So now we're going to go ahead and hit enter. We're going to select it, and we want it to be a construction line. Alright, so now we've got this line on the outside. Okay, and from here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to draw our geometry. So the geometry is going to go right here, and I measured off the top of this. So when you look at this, I measured from here to the top of this. And I measured from here to here. So from here to the small indice, from the top of this to the center hole of this indice, it's going to be 1.1 millimeters. So we'll go back here, and this is the line we're drawing from, so we're going to draw a line, and we're going to constrain it here to that, and we're going to go down, and what we're going to do is we're going to call it small. So look, small indices from line, 1.1. So that is right here. So we're going to hit, I want to make sure. Yep, so it's 1.1. So we're going to hit enter. And we want this to be a construction line too. So there you go. Oh, hold on. Escape. And now you can click on this line. Sometimes it's a little weird when you're highlighting stuff. So from here, so we're 1.1 millimeters down from this top line, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to draw a circle right there. And the circle's not going to be a construction line, and that circle is going to be small indices, and it's the 0.3 right there. So you hit enter. Now I've got a dimension from this to the next indices down, so we're going to create another line, and we're going to go down, and then we're going to do small indices apart, which is 2 millimeters. We're going to hit enter. We're going to create a construction line there, and we're going to go down to the bottom of this, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to draw a circle, center point circle, and we're going to call it small indices, which is 0.3. Perfect. So now we'll hit enter, and these are the two holes that we're going to for the rectangular indices. And so these line up so that the top of the rectangle is right on this line, which lines up with all these. All right, so what we want to do now is the same thing we did before, right? Which is we want to click this, and we're going to go ahead and control click. Actually, let's click this here, and then we're going to control click this, and we're going to do create circular pattern, right? And we want the circular pattern to, we've selected our objects. We're going to select our objects now, this and this. So we've got two objects selected. And I'm scrolling in and out with my mouse wheel. And then we're going to do the same thing we did before. Select the center point because we want to wrap around this center point. So we're going to click that. And we want to suppress because we want to suppress the one that's going to be at the date window. And we want 4 of these. So if you click OK, now we've got the ones at the top here and these, and then you've got them at the 6 o'clock and at the, okay, so I messed that up a little bit and I forgot to suppress these. So what we're going to do is, this is easy, we're just going to hit Control Z, and it's going to get rid of that circular pattern, and we're going to go back and we're going to do it again. So we'll quickly go through and say circular pattern. We're going to select our 2, 1, 2. We're going to select that, and we're going to select our center. We're going to suppress, and we're going to say we want it 4, right? And we want to get rid of that one. So that one, and we're going to click OK. So we're good. Now we're good. All right, so far we've got the small indices done and the big indices done. Now we're going to do the date window. So we're going to do the same thing we've done a bunch of times. We're going to finish this sketch, and then we're going to click on the face, and we're going to click New Sketch. Now I have looked at we're basically building out a dial for an NH35 movement. So I looked up what the dimensions were for the date window. And basically the easiest way to draw your date window is to start here in the center. We're going to grab a line and we're going to start here and we're going to come over, right? And so date window center. So this is the center of the date window because that's what they give you, and it's 10.55 millimeters. So I'm going to make this a construction line because I don't want it to show up anywhere. Now I'm going to draw a center point rectangle. So we go to Create Rectangle, Center Point, and we're going to use this point as the center of this rectangle. Now the first one we're going to do is the X. Or the first one we're going to do is the Y. So right here, this is the Y, and we're going to do date, and I've got two here. I've got date Y and date X. Nope. I think this is date Y. Oops, messed that up. So we're going to go ahead and click Control Z. We're going to go back in. We're going to create a center point rectangle. And so the first one is going to be your y-axis. So this is going to be D-A-T-E Y. Right, so we're going to click here. Now, instead of hitting enter, because that's what I did last time, we're going to go ahead and tab. It's going to take us to the next one. We're going to do date X, and we're going to choose this. Then we're going to hit enter. So here's our date window. Right there. Okay, so now for the most part our dial is finished. Now what I want to do from here is we're going to go ahead and we're going to finish this sketch. Now we're going to go back through and we're going to make the holes, because what I'm trying to show you guys is first how to create a dial, and second how to go into the manufacturing and set the manufacturing tabs up so that you could basically put this into like a CNC and have it drill the holes and cut the dial out. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to the large indices. Now anytime you mess up or you hit close sketch, all you have to do is come over here to your sketches, right? This opens and closes. Right click on it and say edit sketch. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to edit this sketch, and we want to select all of these dots. Okay, so we're going to go in one at a time and we're going to select, we're going to control click all the way around this dial. And we're going to select all the big indices. And what we're going to do now is we are going to hit extrude, but instead of extruding, we are going to extrude the distance of the dial. So if you remember from the beginning, we did the thickness, we did the dial thickness of 0.6. So basically we're going to do negative 0.6, right? And when you do that, it changes the cut over here, and negative 0.6, and you don't really have to mess with anything over here, and you just click OK. And then it's going to go ahead and it's going to cut all of those out. Alright, so now, and anytime you do an extrude, it basically closes your sketch for you. So if you want to go back into your sketch, you just right click on it and edit sketch. So we're going to do the same thing now with the small indices. So we're going to edit sketch. We're going to, and you can also, I believe you can hit extrude, right, and select, and then you can go around. And I find it's easier when you zoom in to click on little things. So we're going to go here. We're going to go to 6 o'clock. We're going to control click at 6 o'clock. Control click, control click. We're going to go to 9 o'clock. Control click, keep the control down. And then these are already selected. So we've selected 6. We're going to do the exact same thing that we did. We're just going to do it up here in the box. So we want to go negative 0.6. It's going to automatically say, hey, we want to cut that. And we're going to click OK. So now we've got this, we've got all the big indices cut out and the small indices cut out. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to cut this date window out. I forgot to name this, so we're going to go ahead and rename this to date window. And we're going to edit this sketch. We're going to extrude. This is, we've got one thing selected and you can see it selected, and we just put negative 0.6 and hit enter. So now we've got everything except for the one thing that I missed, which was the hole in the center of the dial. So I'm going to click on this and we're going to add one more sketch so we can do that center point, because this is going to be important when we get into the milling process. And we're going to do a center point hole, and then we're going to do, I think I called it dial center hole. Dial center hole, which is going to be a 2.4 millimeter hole. So we're going to hit that. That's good to go. Then we're just going to click on it and hit extrude. And then we're going to do a negative 0.6, just like everything else. And so here we go. So now we've got our dial, and it's basically ready to go to the manufacturing process.